and the story he had told had not been the truth because the truth would have put him in prison. He said, the ex-bouncer. And nothing that had happened once he had accepted the job had been his fault. The environment had required violence because violent loonies stood before him on a nightly basis threatening death, forcing him to become a violent loony himself. And it had been a very, 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 very violent time with many violent incidents. Fights at christenings, weddings, funerals, births, deaths, and it was hard to know what God had made of it all. Was he a benevolent, all-seeing force, a concerned onlooker, or a literary construct? It was whatever you wanted it to be. And the now ex-bouncer had written a book about his time protecting people and property at a dangerous time in a lethal profession. There were industrial levels of violence in a heavy industrial city, the capitalist business model. The workers fucked over. Violence the only outlet, the only escape. What about Shakespeare? I asked aloud, thinking of the community of miners I had read about in the north of England, who had their theater group and would perform music and stage Shakespeare plays. Had there not been art, theater, music, culture in the bouncer city? There was soccer, he said in the book, and that was a release for people, a communal experience, to sing songs, laugh at jokes and shout abuse at people who mostly couldn't hear you or answer back. Although soccer, of course, in the 1980s had violence and hooligans in every town and city who would find a chance to visit other towns and cities and engage organized, territorial violence impossible to resist. The phenomenon of violent crowds tracing all the way back to the Romans. And it was the hooliganism itself and not the hooligans that evolved, peaking in the 80s before collapsing under the weight of its tracksuits, with a predictable flurry of hooligan-penned memoirs of the glory years that followed, the most notable being Tracksuit Twats by Dale Fist, writing in his own blood from his cell in prison. Fist remonstrated with the family and societal circumstances he was born into for 182 pages before revealing he had killed a rival thug by total accident. A lucky/unlucky fluke of a punch he had swung wildly, having been running away from the guy at the time. The book's concluding chapter dominated by the realization his hopelessness had mainly been energetically absorbed from the people he had hung around with, a collective of despondents, an anger that had been weaponized, a despair that had been transferred by osmosis. He had wasted years listening to them. He would never go to Tranmere or Grimsby or Luton again. The book ending on a note of hope. Football unites people. There's good in all of us, shown by an art project Fist had conceptualized in his first year of incarceration. Writing to every hooligan group in the UK, he had invited individual skinheads to collect their shaved hair and send it to him. The 10,000 tons donated repurposed into a full-size football pitch in the Midlands. Every year, teams of hooligans from around the UK competed for the Hope Cup. The inaugural final called off after 9 seconds after a 300-man brawl erupted. Subsequent years got better, and on his release, Fist acquired a social media account and rebranded himself as a leader for social change. His ideas mainly centered around throwing people out of the country that he didn't want in it, starting with anyone who supported a rival football team. And there he remains, agitating and spewing, addicted to the attention, the cortisol spikes, the dopamine hits, one day hoping to form a government.